Hi and welcome to Iconic Rides, the programme where Kerry and I hope to show you how to buy, sell or restore an iconic car with help with experts along the way that are going to make us understand what makes these cars so special and help us avoid some costly mistakes.
And as you know, if you've recently been looking for a car to buy or restore, just how difficult it's becoming, with cars harder to find and prices rising every day.
So we thought, what if you could spot which cars might become future classics before everyone else?
And finding one that doesn't break the bank.
Kerry and I started to think, what sort of cars we used to see on the streets when we were kids? And the obvious one was the Mini. But all the early original ones are now snapped up and owned by enthusiasts.
So we decided to look for the more modern, produced version.
And the one that jumps out the most as a possible future classic is the supercharged R53 Cooper S, produced between 2001 and 2006. They are already catching the eye of the collector. And to find out what makes these cars so interesting, I went along to talk to somebody who knows these cars inside and out. When I started talking about the R53 Mini and told people I needed a bit of advice before buying one, they told me there was only one place to go.
My name's Thomas. We're at 1320 Mini in Great Staunton, which is Bedfordshire, and we work on the R53 Mini.
What is it that made you have a passion for Mini to first start off with?
So when we first went into business, we actually repaired crash-damaged cars.
Right.
And I found that repairing or working on the R53 Mini was like an easy car to work on, which some people don't find. They were holding their money really, really well, so we just kind of progressed. And then we kind of, all these years later, we're here surrounded by customers' cars rather than our own.
Tell us what type of customer that comes through the door.
We get a range of 20-year-olds to 70-year-olds. We have a lot of guys that use them for track days. They'll be their second car. We get guys that want to show them. We get the odd ladies that want to show them, race them. So a general mix, but an awful lot of different people for the same thing.
What is it that makes the R53 so special?
I guess it's really close to the original Mini. They give great feedback. You feel like you're driving a nice small hot hatch. It all adds up to a good hot hatch car that kind of makes you feel like you want to drive it again and again.
So do heavily modified cars hold their value?
I guess it depends on what parts are fitted. If it has really, really top quality parts fitted, then it's always going to be held at good value. If they've been cheaply modified, they're always going to be never fetching what they probably has been spent. But it depends on the quality of parts that have been used and the condition of the car in general.
So it's always worth spending that little bit extra if you're going to modify.
Absolutely.
What should a potential buyer look for in an R53?
My opinion is that you should drive as many as you can. If you're in the market for an R53, try and drive 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. You will get to feel the difference between a good one and a bad one. They do suffer with some bushes underneath, which will make it tramline. They're going to suffer with a little bit of rust on some certain places, like on the boot lid. But you've got to look around it, check there's no major oil leaks, check that it doesn't start up and rattle, because that's another problem. But you'll get to know a good one.
What are the benefits of the facelift model?
In my opinion, the benefits are probably the gear ratios, because they were quite shorter, so you're going to find a faster accelerating car. The styling was slightly changed with a newer style looking lights. The dash has changed, a bit cleaner. And most of the time, you're going to find a limited slip diff in the gearbox if you choose the right one.
What are the most desirable options to go for?
In my opinion, the JCW kit was a great optional extra for extra power. They offered brakes, they offered an exhaust. The chili pack was a great one that added air conditioning. An optional extra was actually the xenon lights, again, which was a great one just to help see, and it looks great. But there was seats. It's knowing where to stop and trying to find the right car.
The age-old question, black or white roof?
I'm down for a body-coloured roof. I like the roof to be part of the car. That's my view. But if I had to decide on white or black roof, I'm going to go with the black roof to sort of blend in nice.
Tell us about the feelings you get when you actually drive one of these cars.
Well, there's kind of all your senses are going wild. You've got the noise from the supercharger, which straight away hits you, and that's going to make you want to go faster all the time. The steering is really, really positive, and it just gives you confidence to go faster and faster. Obviously, you've got to obey speed limits and stuff, but they're so fun to drive.
What's the best type of road to try and drive one of these on?
B roads. You want bends, you want hills, you want a road that's going to be twisty, just so you can enjoy it, because you're going to be on and off the throttle, you're going to be turning. It's going to feel like you're in a race on your own.
So how has the car aged over the years?
I think they've done a really good job. The car still looks really current, still looks really good. It's not too big. And compared to the likes of a Golf or a Focus or a Clio, they've definitely got that edge where they look like a more sort of current car, whereas the others haven't, in my opinion, aged very well.
What makes this engine so special?
It has to be the supercharger. It's the noise from it, the characteristics from it, the instant power. It is the supercharger. It makes the R53.
Did Mini get it right with the R53 then?
Absolutely. It's the last Mini that you'll feel really connected to when driving it.
They sound absolutely amazing to drive.
They are, and I think we should take one out for a spin.
Can we?
We can.
Let's go. First things first when we get in this car is how low the seats are. We feel like we're sat on the floor.
This one has got aftermarket seats, but you do sit quite low in the cars.
Yeah.
The seats on a stock car do have adjustability, but yeah, this one, we're sitting quite low, which makes a nice ride, you know, if you're for kind of sported, fast road driving.
Another thing that just draws itself to me is the gear stick. It's so tall. Why has it been made so tall?
This one's actually an aftermarket quick shift.
Right.
The benefit for it is when you're changing gear, your hand's never too far away from the steering wheel. So your hand, if you're going to change gear, you change gear, your hand's back on the steering wheel, so you've got control.
Faster control.
So yeah, some guys love them, some guys don't. This one has it, so it's not a bad thing.
Imagine it being quite awkward to use, being so tall. I think it'd be something that takes a lot of getting used to.
Absolutely. My personal car, I don't have one of these.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me really. It's yeah. It looks cool. That's the main thing. This one is just on sort of road tyres at the moment, and if you were to go to a track day with this car, you could probably stick an even stickier set of tyres on. So, but it's holding well.
Oh, that noise.
It's addictive.
It is. You just want to keep on putting your foot down, don't you? Just to keep on hearing that sound. I don't even want to speak, I just want to keep on listening to that.
You don't need a radio.
Exactly, you don't. That's it. That's the fun factor. Right there, just listening to that noise.
I think it's great because you don't actually have to be going too fast to get the noise either.
Yeah.
But it's addictive to drive.
What sort of speed would you say you hit that noise?
As soon as you're hitting 2,000-3,000 RPM,
Yeah.
the supercharger's up there, it's making boost, it's
Right.
going to be making that whining noise,
Lovely.
which is what everyone loves really. Yeah, this is the pre-facelift model, which has the 5-bar dash, so the facelift one has a slightly cleaner dash, but
Okay.
I think it looks pretty good for being nearly 20 years old.
It does. It still looks very futuristic. I will say that. Would you say guys would get this for a day-to-day car? Would they do normal A to B?
Absolutely.
trips?
This car, I have tons of guys that have cars very similar to this spec that will use it day to day.
Yeah.
Daily commute. I mean, it's a fun drive to work.
It is fun.
Yeah. You normally will never see two Minis exactly the same.
Really, everyone it's always been modified as such. Then, yeah.
And even when they left the factory back in the days they were made, you could personalise your Mini, whether it be colours, wheels, interior,
Yeah.
accessories, grills.
Yeah.
So they were all different.
They're all pretty much custom to the
Absolutely.
owner.
Yeah, you went in and pretty much ticked the box for the car
That's
that
fascinating.
you wanted. So it's, yeah, the chance of seeing two identical is pretty slim.
Very
really.
rare, yeah.
I mean, this one I know was brought recently. So it's probably would sell between £6,000 and £7,000,
Oh,
even in a second-hand state.
So what would this car have been bought brand new?
This car would have been well over £20,000
Yeah.
brand new. So it's probably had an awful lot of money spent on it,
Yeah.
but it kind of ticks, like I say, it ticks those boxes where you can use it for multiple things. You can use it to commute, you can use it to go for a fast road drive,
Yeah.
and you can use it to go for a track day. Like trying to find one like this is quite rare. There's quite a market out there for some people wanting to buy some slightly modified,
Yeah.
that they can just get in and use, and some people do want the completely standard ones. They just want to look after the standard ones,
Yeah.
which
Would you say one like this would be a class as a future iconic car then?
absolutely. This one has really nice modifications, so it's never ever going to struggle to sell because of the kind of setup that it has. You know, it will be able to go out for fast road drives. You could use it to commute if you like bucket seats and sitting
Yeah.
low with a bit of a roll cage and stuff, if that's what you were after. Although we're in bucket seats and harnesses, it's not too uncomfortable, I don't
No,
think.
I'm quite comfortable and I just feel like I'm in a roller coaster about to set off.
That's it.
What do you think Mini could do to top these sort of cars off now? Is Mini going to be able to top the R53 off?
The current ones, I absolutely respect that they are they're a little bit larger and they're taking on the B&W platform.
Yeah.
I guess what they have to do is make sure that the cars that come out nowadays are going to be competitive with all other marques. So
Yeah.
bringing out a supercharged car that doesn't have phone prep or doesn't have hands-free or cruise control, it's never going to sell well to a guy that's used to
Just
having
to race
all of the gadgets.
Yeah.
So I guess when you buy an 04 Mini, you know what you're buying, and when you jump in it, you enjoy the drive. Would you buy one if this was brand new? You probably wouldn't. It probably wouldn't get a look in in nowadays because things have moved on.
Yeah.
But as a classic kind of desired car, I think they got it right back in the day.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking me out in it. It's been a
cool.
very exciting ride, that's for sure.
It's cool. You have to experience it, I guess. It's a fun car.
It is
It's a fun car.
Wow, Thomas, thank you so much for today. It's really been fun.
You're welcome.
Well, before coming here today, I knew that Minis were fun to drive. But today, after driving the R53, it's been a whole new level of excitement. It's that supercharger that makes the difference. There's still quite a few for sale out there, so don't buy the first one that you see. If you take Thomas's advice on what to look for, you could have a future classic on your hands. I love this little car. Okay, whilst I've been having fun here at 1320, Kerry's been having some fun herself with cars with slightly bigger price tags, with a little help from Colin.
Olivia looked like she had a great time with the R53. The word iconic is often overused in today's society, but there is one marque that is iconic in any car person's world: Porsche. Over the years, a thriving industry has sprung up all over the world restoring these iconic cars.
So, we wanted to find out what goes into restoring these motoring icons.
Earlier this week, Colin and I met up with an old friend of ours that knows every single nut and bolt on these cars, especially the 356.
Porsche are unique for many reasons, I think. I mean, clearly the rear engine. and the determination to make it work. When you think they were up against it just after the Second World War, and they came up with this crazy sports car, and they've gone with it all the way through, despite people saying they're stupid, people saying they're tail happy. They've stuck with the design, they've made it the best car there is. You could instantly recognise one, can't you, from the design, right back from the Moon car to the ones behind me, to the modern day. The very fact that the engine's in the back means that you're always going to end up with that shape. So they've stuck with that, and of course some people say, like Clarkson, we won't mention him, that they really haven't updated at all, but they have, incrementally, subtly. Every time improvement was needed, they did it. The customers we get here at Sportwagon are generally looking for the very best they can get. They're discerning in the least, and they're prepared to wait. You either want it right or you want it right now. And to get it right, it takes quite a long while. The average customer we'll get through here he's not in a rush. He knows exactly what he wants. He's prepared to wait, and he's prepared to go the distance it takes to make it right. Say 20 years ago, people were spending far more restoring the car than the car was worth. And they were purely enthusiasts. And they would often be out of pocket, but they had what they wanted. Then the tables turned when Porsche became more valuable, and then it became an investment. Then we saw a different clientele. We saw a lot of bankers, people who were looking to invest money in Porsche. That drove the values up even higher. That attracted more investors. We have customers largely across Europe. We do a lot of work for Scandi and Scandinavians. We have several cars here at the minute from Norway, several from Sweden, quite a lot. We have them in from Germany and Switzerland, indeed. The ones right beside us is from Zurich. It's very important that we get the restoration absolutely 100% correct, because unless we do, we failed. The clue is in the title. It's restoring it back exactly to the way it left the factory. That's the ambition, warts and all. Our customers vary in what they're looking for. I mean, we do an awful lot of work for people who want to track their cars or race them. One of the Norwegian cars we've got next door will be done to FIA spec so that he can compete in gentlemen's racing. So that's not an original car as such. But even so, it's based on an original car and done with the ethos that would have been done at the time. It's all done to period spec. It's the car behind me at the minute, 12303, it was a factory prototype works car. So not only was it one of their race cars, but it was a prototype from the factory. Largely raced through South America, Italy. It did Targa Florio, it won best in class. It's won many significant races over the years, and it was recently in Bogota, in Colombia, and it's languished there for many years, and finally it's found its way here for restoration. 12303, very interesting number. Being a 5-digit and a 1958 car, that already, to anybody who knows Porsche 356, will tell them it's a works car. It's a small detail, but the generic 356 will have 6 digits in this year. The factory only ran with 5. The future for this car is quite interesting, because the Porsche Museum are very, very interested in the car. They'd love to display it because it's one of their own. In their eyes, it's a very, very special car. It's got a racing sheet history, a sheet of wings, as long as your arm. But the owner, he's obliging them. He's been talking to the factory, and they will display it back at the museum when we finished it. But after that, eventually, his ambition is to take it to Pebble Beach. I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be truthful. It's not really the purest place for a 356. But we'll do it, and we'll see how it gets on. This is a special car. I mean, it's a works car, and it's a prototype works car. So the factory had invested an awful lot into it. This is why they're interested in getting it back. Stuttgart was in ruins at the end of World War II. So they moved out to this, it literally was a wood mill, a sawmill, in this little Austrian village called Gmünd, very picturesque. The museum is still there in place where all this went on. And that is really where it all began. Ferdinand, as they were all called, decided they wanted to try and build some production cars after World War II. There were 52 cars made between 1948 and 1949. which you could say were the prototypes for Porsche. Hence they're called Gmünd cars. They were all built by hand. Particularly one of the panel beaters was notoriously drunk most of the time. So the cars are very, very lopsided. You'll have one much wider one side than the other. And this is just typical of the era. The correct designation for a Gmünd car is a 356. The first one was number 1. That was a cabriolet. The ones with the roofs, the coupes, they were 356/2. And that is precisely what I've got behind me, is a modern version of the 356. Next door we have number 21, so that's the 21st Gmünd built. That's coming from Hamburg, from the Prototype Museum, for some attention to the paintwork. When we finish 21, that's going straight back to the Prototype Museum on display in Hamburg, where I expect it'll just stay. In order to restore one of these cars fully, for instance, there's an awful lot of mechanical engineering. That's the first thing. Second thing, there is the metalwork. So the car has to be structurally sound. Then it goes through a painting process, which reinstates the paint as close as we can to how it left the factory. Once that's done, then the skilled mechanics, again, they've got to rebuild it. The attention to detail is everything. Regarding the skills that we need to do this kind of work, we're finding it harder and harder to find people A, that are interested enough to attain the skills, and B, already have a good level of skill that they can call upon. The Gmünd cars themselves in 1951, after he'd finished producing them, some of them were turned into race cars, and they were called SLs. Now, one of those in 1951 won Le Mans, and that, of course, was the start of all the racing history for Porsche. My passion for Porsche really started 40-odd years back. They get under your skin. It's a strange thing because they're very much like the much maligned Beetle, but the Porsche itself is such a thoroughbred. The engineering, it was way beyond anything you'd ever find in England. It really was. You can leave a Porsche in a shed, 50 years, come back to it, drive it. People often do. My favourite Porsche must be the 356. It is where it all began. You can still see the 356 shape in every Porsche today, well, the 911 range at least. The reason why, if you take these cars apart and rebuild them, you instantly recognise just how well engineered they are, and you realise why they've lasted 70 years. They're just superb.
We spent a fabulous day with Bruce and all those amazing cars, and I could listen to him talk all day long.
As Bruce said, these cars are very valuable and are falling into the hands of investors.
But we have found one today that we can take for a drive and find out why they're so desired.
This is a 356C, one of the last ones made between 1963 and 1965.
So how does that feel, Colin?
It feels good. I mean, this car come from California, so virtually rust-free, but it's had a good restoration that's lasted. It's not recent, but they've done a superb job on it. No gearbox noise, oil's good, running sweet. It's of its time, but it still stands up to today's standards. And as I say, the restoration, they've obviously done the inside as well, is good. You know, they didn't skimp. But I was going to say, California, these are classics, same as they are anywhere really, you know, iconic. And they've obviously spent the money to keep it that way. But I just can't get over the way this drives. It's so smooth.
Well, it certainly takes you back to the 1960s, doesn't it?
It certainly does, yeah. I mean, this car originally, I think there's one in the Porsche Museum, a convertible split screen, is the earliest one I know of, which was renovated by Bruce at Sportswagen. The design then to carry through from 47 up to 65, I believe.
Well, these are true enthusiast cars, aren't they?
They are, yeah. I mean, people buy these as investments and they go for lots of money. I mean, obviously the earlier cars make more than the later ones, but you get a better drive out of this one, definitely. The earlier one that I drove, didn't feel anywhere as nice as this.
Well, they are a true investment, but they're also so much fun.
They are, like I say, puts a smile on your face. We're both smiling. With a modern day Porsche, of course you've got all the electrics and everything and the driving aids. I know you can turn them off, but with this, it's the driver that's just doing it all. There's nothing to help you except for the car as it comes out the factory with just basic suspension, brakes. So it's the driver and you can feel it, but this is a very positive car. The brakes are good, the steering perfect, the gear change light, the clutch is light. It's just a perfect driving experience.
It's an absolute pleasure just to have the chance to drive a car like this, isn't it?
I mean, we are lucky. How many people would get a chance to drive something like this? Well, the one thing I would say, if you're looking for a car that will not devalue, that will only go up in value, look no further than this. And we can say that's one of them days you're always going to remember.
Look who's here.
I was never going to miss this. How was it?
It drives as good as it looks. Superb. A real pleasure.
This is the first time I've actually stood next to one of these. You can see where modern Porsche gets its design and shape from. I've got to have a sit in it. Wow. It's basic alongside modern cars, but I can definitely see the appeal to them. I'm loving these 60s vibes.
Well, I do wish we could spend some more time with this lovely little car, but sadly, we've run out of time.
I do hope you've enjoyed watching the cars we've featured in today's programme and hopefully learned a little something along the way. From the three of us, we'll see you next time on Iconic Rides.
It went well. Yeah.